Hi, welcome back to Living in Prescott. We're the Danleys. If you like the content that we're providing, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button down below and watch for new videos weekly. Today, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of living in Prescott Valley.
Go right ahead, dear.
So a little bit of information and background on Prescott Valley. It's a newer town. It's not anywhere near as old as Prescott. It was incorporated in 1978. And even though it's a newer town, it has a larger population than Prescott proper. It's at about 49,000 currently as of the 2020 census. So it's definitely growing. It started out with 1,500 people when it first incorporated.
So you want to talk about some pros of living here?
Yeah, let's talk about some pros.
So we grew up in the desert, so we're used to living in the desert. The biggest pro, I think, for living in Prescott is the climate, the weather.
Oh, the weather's great.
I mean, we're sitting at, just a little over elevation in Prescott. So where we live is about 5,300 feet. Downtown's about 5,100 feet. And what that does is it gets you a very diverse series of seasons.
We get 4 true seasons, which is nice. We get about 16 inches of rain every year and about 13 inches of snow. But as you'll see in some of our other videos, the snow does not stick around very long. You might have it for a day, 2 at most, unless we get a lot, which is pretty rare.
And I think compared to living in Phoenix, which we lived for nearly 20 years, the Phoenix area can get super hot, 110 to 115, 118, during the summer. So in the Prescott area, you can count on 15, 20 degrees cooler easily, and sometimes more.
I think the warmest we've seen personally is maybe right at 100. It doesn't usually get much warmer than that, and it's very short-lived. It's maybe a couple days every year. For the most part, it's usually high 80s, low 90s, I'd say, for the highs.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say the climate, the weather, huge plus, huge pro for living in Prescott Valley.
Another big pro, if you're an outdoor person, there is so much to do around here. If you like to horseback ride, you like to mountain bike, Shawn's a big avid mountain biker. If you like to trail run, hike, go for walks, nature walks or bird watch, any of that kind of stuff, it's all around here. If you like to ski, we're only about an hour and a half to Flagstaff, and we're about 30 minutes to Sedona, which has some of the best climbing, hiking, and mountain biking in the entire state.
Well, and I think if you're into motorsports and you've got side-by-side, this is like the mecca for outdoor recreation.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hit so many trails from many of the subdivisions in Prescott Valley, go right into National Forest, take off for the day with some neighbors. I mean, it's just a huge following. Not only that, but in Prescott Valley, you can get a street legal kit for your side-by-side, and you can actually drive them on the roads, which is pretty uncommon for most metropolitan cities.
Which is nice because if you're going somewhere for a day and you're, headed out on a trail or whatnot, and you need to stop for provisions, you can drive your rig on the road and not have to worry about trailering it. So that's a big pro too.
And it's always fun when you're at a stoplight and you're sitting next to somebody in a Razor, you can just kind of wave. It's pretty nuts, but it's Prescott. That's kind of what we are all about. So I think that's a big pro.
Huge pro. That takes us into our next big pro. And for me, I love the wide open spaces. It's vast, wide open spaces with the mountains surrounding. And I just think it's beautiful. There's a big variation in elevation across the city, and I don't know, it just gives it some diversity in landscape, and I really appreciate that. So
yeah, I mean, if you like the wide open plains, the grasslands, that's Prescott Valley. If you're more into the tall trees and the pines, and you want rolling topography, that would probably be more Prescott is your gig. But if you like and enjoy the vast sunsets and wide open spaces, Prescott Valley is a pretty good pick.
And we get amazing sunsets here.
That's true. We'll drop a photo of one of our recent sunsets. It's just amazing.
One other thing that we get here too is we get wide open skies to see the stars at night, which is super cool. If you're coming from a big metropolitan city with some light pollution, you can definitely enjoy the night skies here.
Yeah, Prescott Valley, all of Yavapai County is a dark sky county, which means the light pollution is extremely limited.
Yeah.
So you have some of the most amazing star nights when you've got a clear night, which is most nights of the year. You can just see stars for days. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
So one other thing about Prescott Valley, and it's neither a pro nor a con, I guess it depends on what type of housing you like. Since it's a new town, we don't really have a downtown that has historic homes. That's more Prescott. And so I think if you really enjoy like the newer homes and maybe new construction or recently built construction, there's a lot of that in our area in Prescott Valley. There's new subdivisions going up all over the place, subdivisions that have great amenities, clubhouses with gyms and pools and pickleball and tennis courts, basketball. So if you like that living, then Prescott Valley is definitely something you're going to want to check out.
Yeah, and if you've got animals, whether it be horses or goats or chickens or whatever it might be, and you're looking for a little bit of acreage, Prescott Valley's got a huge selection of that with numerous communities that, tailor to the horse enthusiast, which is this gal right here. We've even got a racetrack in Prescott Valley, which I don't know how many towns across the country can say they have their own racetrack, but we do. So if you're into thoroughbred racing, you can go check out the racetrack, which is during the summer.
Downs. Yeah, Arizona Downs is a cool place to check out.
Yeah.
So now that we've shared all the pros, I think we should probably share some of the cons too.
And there are cons with any city.
Anywhere you're going to look, they're definitely going to have cons. So I think the big one right now, which is true across the nation, is the housing cost. We've definitely seen a huge uptick in housing cost here. And, being able to find that cute 3-bedroom, 2-bath Rambler for $200,000 is pretty unlikely in our area. Starting prices are probably going to be nearly twice that. So keep that in mind when you're considering the area. But there are still some great houses and some great deals compared to what you spend nationwide.
Well, sure. And I think, compared to other big metropolitan cities, down in the valley, the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, those prices have skyrocketed like crazy. Yeah. So I think for folks that are coming in from out of state, which there is a lot of them, I can't tell you how many out of state plates we see on a daily basis. Welcome to our town. It is less expensive here than other areas, but the housing costs have gone up substantially. So, like Tiffany said, what you used to be able to get now is going to cost you double. And I think that's probably the case across the entire country.
It's true. The one thing that also is a con that we've already discussed is it is typical suburbia. So if you're a foodie and you're into like the mom and pop restaurants and you enjoy that type of cuisine, there's a couple of them here, but for the most part, we definitely have the big chains. You'll definitely see like the Chili's and the Mod Pizzas and Chipotle's, etc. So we have a lot of that. If you want good dining though, there's a couple places local, but most of it you're going to have to travel to Prescott, which is about, depending on where you are in the valley, about 15 to 20 minutes.
Prescott is just a much older town. It was, incorporated in the 1800s, and it's just got a lot more history. You could hit up Whiskey Row and downtown Courthouse Plaza, which we'll have a video about downtown Prescott in another one. But if that's more your gig, then you're probably going to want to entertain the Prescott area is a place to call home.
Right. One other thing with it being suburbia is if you're a big Target fan, you also have to go to Prescott for that. We have a Walmart and we have a Fry's.
Home Depot.
So we have a lot of the major big box stores, but we don't have a Target. So if you're a Target person, 15, 20-minute drive, not a big deal, but we do have one. Another one of the cons is it's a dry climate. So like I said, we get about 16 inches of rain and 13 inches of snow per year, but it's dry. So
it's dry. It's I would say more yellowish brown most of the year.
Yeah.
Last year we had an amazing monsoon season. And we
had green hills for a while.
We had green everywhere,
It was gorgeous.
Which was amazing. But that's a rarity for sure.
Not common. Definitely not common. There is a pro in that, though. If you have really bad allergies, I've noticed a lot of people that have bad allergies or that suffer from arthritis do a lot better in the dry climate.
That's true.
So that's kind of a pro and a con.
It kind of depends on your own physical makeup and what you're really after.
And then the last con is it is more of a car dependent town. There isn't a true downtown core. We have Prescott Valley Town Center, which is great and has a few things going on. That's in another video that we've done. But if you're one who wants to go downtown, walk around, grab your coffee, drop off your dry cleaning, and take a walk with the dogs, it's not really Prescott Valley unless you hit the trails. So
you're going to need a car to live here, pretty much to get around. It's a big geographic area, and I think the build out for Prescott Valley is scheduled at like 2042 or 2045, somewhere around there. So there's a lot of growth still. Of wide open land still. Much of it is privately held, and there's a lot of big ranches that are still out here. But yeah, you drive a lot to live here. I guess the pro or the con, depending on which way you look at it. But we do have a local airport in Prescott.
In Prescott, yeah.
But if you need to fly in and out for business, internationally or some of the major hubs, you've got to drive to Phoenix. So fly out of Phoenix Sky Harbor. So that's about an hour and a half away. But
Prescott Valley is closer to Phoenix if you needed to go down to the valley for whatever reason. Maybe you wanted to go down to one of the art museums, or you wanted to go to the airport, like Shawn said, or a sporting event. It's an hour and a half down the I-17 highway. Not a big deal, not a bad drive. So
here's a bonus pro that we forgot about, and I just thought of that. We have got the Toyota Finley Center.
We do.
Finley Toyota Center.
That's right.
And it's actually a pretty good-sized stadium, covered indoors.
Yep.
And surprisingly, for this small little town with only 49,000 people, you can go hit monster trucks, you can see a concert.
Yeah. You can go to an antique show, all kinds of things.
Yeah, whatever, a sportsman's show, whatever you're into. We've got a big stadium right in our small town, which is kind of cool.
It is very cool. We've definitely done quite a few things there, and parking was great. It wasn't super packed as if you were to go to maybe one down in the valley. So I think that's a big pro to have. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're always glad to chat about our area. We love it. We call it home. We're raising our family here. It's an absolute 2 thumbs up for us.